Thank you. And now I'm going to hand it over to Hardball and Chris Matthews.
Welcome to MSNBC's coverage of the inauguration of Barack Obama, and welcome to our NBC stations joining our continuing coverage this evening. Good evening. I'm Chris Matthews, and what a good evening it is. Nora O'Donnell and Eugene Robinson are with me still here on the National Mall, and our Washington Bureau Chief Mark Whitaker is also with us right now. It's an astounding afternoon in American history. Big changes, and with them, out goes the old and in comes the new. As fresh and crisp as a new penny, this new president stands before us right now with all kinds of new policies. He laid them out today. All kinds of rejection, implicit or explicit, of what's going out today and what flew away on what was once Marine One and Air Force One. George Bush left. Barack Obama is here. A dramatic day. Elections matter. They're not just about parades and new clothes. They're about a brand new policy in this country, a rejection of what we've had for 8 years, something brand new. We're going to have to discover exactly how brand new it is. But there were words spoken today, Gene and Nora, that matter. Words spoken about foreign policy and American ideals that remind many of us that there are issues at stake here and differences. And this new president made it clear that he is going to find a way to reconcile the ideals that are resplendent in those uniforms with American interests. There'll be no more bullying of the world, no more acting like one of the bad guys on occasion. We're going to try again to be the good guy of the world and to get along with our fellow democracies. It is a dramatic change that's come.
And we're going to extend a hand to other nations as well. And he warns those who wish to be America's enemies that he will oblige. But especially to the Muslim world, he extended a hand of friendship in a way that I think will likely have more credibility coming from and more impact coming from Barack Hussein Obama than it has come.
You said it.
I did say
Hussein Obama. And he said that today. You know, a Midwestern congressman said to me, Gene and Nora, way in the middle of this campaign, which seems 100 years ago, Indiana doesn't vote for guys named Obama, Barack Obama. Well, it actually didn't, but it didn't matter because most of the country
Indiana went for Obama.
And then his name was used as a slur in many
Did Indiana
ways.
go for Obama?
Indiana went for Obama, narrowly, but it went for Obama.
He was wrong. Go ahead, Nora. I'm sorry.
And his middle name, Hussein, was used as a slur in this campaign against him, and he proudly said his middle name as he took the oath of office, even though Chief Justice Roberts led him a little astray on the...
What happened there? Do you remember? There was a little...
The word faithfully was out of order, and then Barack Obama paused to allow the Chief Justice to correct himself. And
revise and extend his remarks.
Revise and extend his remarks. So there was a little bit of a slip up there, but nevertheless.
There's so much stories you've been reminding us that's traditional and the kind of the hoopla and boosterism and babbitry we all love. A bit of that today in the statuary hall. A lot of that old, here's your crystal trophy and all that kind of stuff that goes on in every meeting in America, every luncheon. But there we have the American bands. It could be Mr. Smith Goes to Washington here, but it's Mr. Obama Comes to Washington. There's Andy Stern, by the way, the SEIU standing there with his card check bill ready to come to the floor. There's going to be some crackle in the politics, like it or not. There are issues at stake, and the Democrats have a full plate. And sometimes when you're in a political party, Gene, you got to take the full plate special, the blue plate special. You may not like card check. You may believe in free trade. You may not like this protectionist stuff. But it all comes with a new policy, and we're going to argue this stuff as well as enjoy the hoopla of this stuff before that beautiful parade reviewing stand there. And it's nice and warm in there. By the way, again, SEIU, President Andy Stern standing so close to the president, that makes a statement right there.
And I have a seating chart in front of me of just who is inside that.
Give me the politics of the seating chart as well.
Not just you pointed that out. Not only, of course, are the family members, the Robinsons, and of course, Michelle Robinson's mother, Marion Robinson, who's going to be living in the White House, and the Biden family. But I noticed in row 2 is, I believe, Saeed Obama, Auma Obama, Akinye Obama. These are his relatives from Kenya who have traveled all this way, who are now there with him, who wanted to make this trip to be with him. Also, of course, the Dailies are there inside the box. The King family, Martin Luther King III, as well there, as well as some of his other political advisors and Podesta and members of the cabinet inside that. But that's what stuck out at me, the additional Obamas that perhaps we haven't all met yet.
Wow, look at Obama, the president, doing his little yuyaling there, whatever that dance
This is his
I'm
high
not sure
school,
what
yeah.
that dance. That's his high school?
Uh-huh.
Wow, from Hawaii. So we're watching this Americana here, and we're also watching the changing of the guard. I was struck, Nora, by the statement of the new president about how we're going to live up to our ideals and how we're going to change things. And a lot in there about the energy crisis we face, about climate change, about science. Odd things to say in a new inaugural, but the president says we're going to reinstill the role of science. Look at this. It's hard to stay too serious when people are doing tumbling acts, but there they are. And by the way, I'm not going to get in your way if you want to talk a little bit about the color. Let's take a look. There is, just get that seating arrangement. Barack Obama up front. The Dailies, Bill and Richie, are they behind him? Where are they? The Dailies, Richie Daley, the mayor of Chicago, which has been so much in the news because of Blagojevich's appointment of Senator Burris, of course, which was a major distraction for a week or two there. Penny Pritzker, the hotel heiress, major player in the campaign of Barack Obama. Juliana Smoot, who's one of the stars of putting together a state-of-the-art campaign with all the online brilliance of it that really blew McCain away.
Finance team.
She won her, well, she did the finance online, a lot of it state-of-the-art, small donations where you can keep pumping them for more money every time you need money. And then we have the Americana again.
That is the famed Florida A&M University marching band, and it is a sensational phenomenon to watch. It is a force of nature, and delight to see and hear.
And that's the new team, of course. Joe Biden, who seems to be having the time of his life today. Don't you notice? I mean, he doesn't have a lot of responsibilities as vice president, but he has a hell of a job coming his way, a great opportunity to see the world and represent our country without the burden, really, of leadership. It's an amazing position, the vice presidency, if it's played right. You don't have to be the brains behind the throne if you don't want to be. But that's not required of you. We've got the daughters. I got to tell you, Gene, my daddy's the president. I mean, I kept thinking of these kids
Really?
trying to take all this in.
Really?
What do you do when you grow up and you have that memory from when you're like, before you're even a teenager? You remember walking out on the west front of the Capitol to 2 million people adoring Daddy. If you get it all, I guess you get it all.
Yeah, it must be amazing. It must be amazing. This band used to come to Orangeburg when I was a kid, until when Florida A&M played South Carolina State, and they marched through the streets, and we'd go out to listen to Florida A&M. We had to acknowledge that back in the day they were actually better. Although right now I'd say South Carolina State band is better now, but I have to say because that's politically correct.
Well, I got to tell you, this
really
is going to be a night game here because this thing got started so late. This is going to be this is going to be a twilighter here at baseball terminology. We're going to have a late night parade coming down Pennsylvania Avenue there. You know, I miss it. One thing I don't like about, well, I don't like anything about the age of terrorism, but one thing I really dislike about it is we used to be able to drive past the White House in the old days and blow your horn if you didn't like the president, which was very democratic. And now you can't even drive your car past the White House. This is a unique experience to see things happening on Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the president, in front of the White House. Boy, talk about old style. This could have been Herbert Hoover's parade here. Look at this stuff. In full headdress.
And of course, this is Crow Nation of Montana.
Of course, I knew that. I didn't think it was Sue. I could tell who it was. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Parade itinerary, of course. And Montana was a state that Barack Obama went to and campaigned in, and people raised questions about whether that was a waste of time, a waste of money for him to try and secure some of the delegates from Montana as he launched this very unconventional mathematically smart way of winning the primary over Hillary Clinton.
It really is a cowboy and Indian state still. I bumped into Brian Schweitzer the other day. What a cowboy he is. And Tester. They're all crew cut guys with regular clothes, and they're wandering around town here like, I guess, 21st century cowboys. And now we've got the wonderful tradition of Native Americans on display here in full regalia. Only in America. Okay, Mark Whitaker joins us right now, the Washington Bureau Chief for NBC News. I mean, Mark, we're trying to mix together some intelligent discussion of the dramatic development today, the election, rather the coming to power of a brand new government and a head of state and a chief of state, a totally new family in charge. And, well, America to be, to some extent, a mood ring. These people are changing our mood here.
Chris, you see the Capitol behind me, and you know, NBC was pooled for the Capitol, which means all the cameras that you saw this morning shooting the swearing in and the speech were our cameras. And I remember going to visit the setup earlier in the week, and thinking about that this was going to be an event where we're not only going to want a lot of shots of the president, the new president, but also a lot of shots going down the mall of the crowds. And sure enough, it was an incredibly exciting scene today, and kind of 2 million people on the mall, symbolic of an American people that for the first time in 20 years are actually embracing a new president as one. 70% of Americans wishing him well. No questions about the legitimacy of his presidency that you had with both Clinton and Bush. But then you turn the cameras around, and the speech itself, I think, was, although it was obviously a very historic and moving moment, Obama reminded us that we're in a time of crisis, and as you were saying earlier, if you parse through the poetry of that speech, it was a very tough indictment of the Bush years, of abdicating our position of responsibility in the world, of abandoning our highest values when it came to civil liberties, of not taking care of the environment, of contributing to the selfishness at the root of the current economic crisis. So I think an extraordinarily powerful mixture of both of emotions and messages today.
You're right. He talked about the greed that led us to our economic crisis we're in right now, which grows deeper and deeper each month with higher unemployment. And then he said, but also the irresponsibility on the part of some and the collective failure to make hard choices and prepare the nation for a new age. Gene, you jump in here. I mean, he's saying that these guys have been asleep at the switch, that Katrina was not just an incident, but it was reflective of 8 years or maybe longer, because he's never been particularly kind to the Clinton era, of failure to meet America's challenges.
No, he hasn't actually, and he's talking about something that, as you said, goes beyond a return to the Clinton years. He's talking about things that were wrong even during the Clinton years, and that, in his view, got worse during the Bush years. But he's really talking about a kind of back to basics, renewal of some bedrock American values, and a reconstruction of our system to make it function in the 21st century and to make it work for us instead of failing us the way it has.
But I also think too, and in this talking about an era of responsibility, in many ways it was an indictment of our past leaders that they had not been acting responsibly.
Absolutely.
How about this line, Nora and Gene and Mark? Our capacity remains undiminished, but our time of standing pat, of protecting narrow interests, of putting off unpleasant decisions, that time has surely passed. Starting today, we must pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and begin again the work of what have we been doing if we're lying in the dust?
Yeah.
I mean, he's saying I picked up a country that was lying in the dust, that was standing pat, that wasn't making any decisions, that was basically brainless, mindless, and irresponsible is what he's saying here. It was softly stated, but think about if you're Bush flying home reading this stuff.
Yeah.
And by the way, he had to sit there and listen to it.
Right.
And he knew what it was about. And by the way, the 2 million people that showed up here today, I don't like it, but they booed him.
They did.
It was bad form, but that was an attitude. It wasn't just limited to minorities out here. It was basically reflective of about 75% of the American people that said good riddance.
Right. And I mean,
that's not nice, but it's true.
The fact is that a lot of people did come, in addition to celebrating Obama, to send George Bush on his way. I mean, that's just a fact, and we should report it as a fact.
What's the name of that song? Nah, nah, hey, hey?
Yeah, right. They did that song. I mean, but one thing that struck me about the speech is the section that says, now, there are some who question the scale of our ambitions, and he basically tells them, you ain't seen nothing yet, you know. I mean, and that he's not going to scale back his ambitions, and that he's really planning to go at this on many different fronts in a comprehensive way, and he's kind of warning us to prepare for that.
What were those lines, Gene? Were they? I thought there was a great line about that stuff. We're all becoming biblical experts in this thing.
What the cynics fail to understand is that the ground has shifted beneath them, that the stale political arguments that have consumed us for so long no longer apply. And then he goes on to say it's not whether government's too big or too small, it's whether it works.
Okay, we're going to take a break here. I want to thank Mark Whitaker, Eugene Robinson, Nora Donner are staying with us. Our coverage of Barack Obama's inauguration will continue in a minute. Much more from the National Mall where we're at, watching the parade down Pennsylvania Avenue, which has all the tradition of yesterday. But God, the speech today and what's coming is big time, and it's brand new. Elections matter. You're going to see that today, tomorrow, and the months ahead. Hardball's live coverage continues after this.
What the cynics fail to understand is that the ground has shifted beneath them, that the stale political arguments that have consumed us for so long no longer apply. The question we ask today is not whether our government is too big or too small, but whether it works, whether it helps families find jobs at a decent wage, care they can afford, a retirement that is dignified.
At a time when American businesses are hurting, why should we worry about fixing health care? Because quality, affordable health care can save money and make businesses more competitive, so they can invest in innovation, hire back workers, create jobs, get the economy working again for everyone. Quality, affordable health care. It's not just something we should do for America's families. It's something we must do for America's economy.
It's not easy. I wasn't looking for it to be easy, but I was looking for it to be challenging. My associate's degree in business administration, bachelor's in nursing, MBA.
A doctorate generally doesn't come without sacrifice.
But, you know, life gets in the way.
I got out of the military to take custody of my son.
I've been through a lot. I had to be a wife,
a mom,
a single father.
A lot of days I worked on 2-3 hours worth of sleep. But I needed to show my 2 boys.
3 granddaughters.
4 children. If I can do it, they can do it. There's no excuse.
I was the first in my family to graduate from college.
But I won't be the last.
My name is Adam.
Wendy, Chef Natalia, Connie, Diane, Elizabeth,
and I am a Phoenix.
Complicated is out. Simple is in. Everything about Jitterbug is simple. It has a comfortable keypad, a bright screen, a powerful speaker. It even eliminates background noise.
And no one else gives such personal service.
Jitterbug is the friendly cell phone experience you've been waiting for.
I'd be happy to place that call for you, Mrs. Kelly.
Okay, Mrs. Davis, I'll add that name to your phone list.
We're here to help 24 hours a day. With nationwide service and affordable plans, Jitterbug is the perfect gift this holiday season. Affordable Jitterbug service starts at just $10 a month with no contracts. Call our experts now with a valid credit card and get a free car charger. Call 1-800-317-9603. Order your Jitterbug today.
Keith Olbermann on President Obama's historic speech.
We are ready to lead once more.
Countdown with Keith Olbermann tonight at 8 Eastern on MSNBC.
Today, I say to you that the challenges we face are real. They are serious and they are many. They will not be met easily or in a short span of time. But know this, America, they will be met.
Welcome back to Hardball. Joining me right now is MSNBC political analyst Pat Buchanan and Newsweek's Evan Thomas, whose new book about the Obama campaign is called A Long Time Coming, and it's a fantastic book. Evan, congratulations.
Thanks,
It
Chris.
is great candy for those of us who love politics. Great stuff about the Clinton campaign. Naughty information. I love it. It's not nice. It's just great. And I really love the coverage of Barack Obama. and a lot of, I underlined a lot in this book, which means I love it. Anyway, and also thank you, Pat. Okay, let's take a look. We're looking at the Marine Band. What do we got right now? What is this now? Delaware volunteer firemen. Obviously, Joe Biden probably knows half these people because Delaware is a very small state. Look at this guy strutting. There's a Grand Marshal for you. Look at this guy. That takes self-confidence, to say the least. The Delaware Band here. We're gonna have a lot of Delaware people coming by. Delaware Home State Float. We've got the Alexis DuPont High School Band. Sounds like Delaware to me. And coming up in a moment, the famous Tuskegee Airmen are coming here, and the Peace Corps community is coming by. That's of interest to people like me. But look at that great shot of the White House. Is that the actual White House or a picture of? Oh, it's a picture of the White House. It looked a little bit surreal there, Nora.
No, that is the White House, right behind the reviewing stand.
And that's the actual White House, not a picture of it?
Yeah, absolutely.
My God, it looked so perfect tonight. It looked like a picture of the White House. There's the kids. Now, what are their names, Nora?
Sasha and Malia.
Sasha is the oldest. And how old are they?
7 and 5. 7 and 5.
5. Those kids are going to grow up. You do the math, they could be there for 7 or 8 years. They could be mid-teens.
Forgive me, Chris. I've been standing outside all day. They are 10 and 8.
Well, they're the only ones that will care about that mistake, but they will hear about it. Did you hear about Nora O'Donnell getting our ages wrong in the middle of my daddy's parade? I go back to this, Nora, and I want to go to let's get some sentiment out of Pat Buchanan for once in his career here. Can you imagine growing up and being these young girls and seeing their daddy give an inaugural address to 2 million people in front of them on the west front of the Capitol? Pat Buchanan, here's your chance to show you got a heart, buddy.
Well, I was talking to someone, Chris, when the youngest of them was walking with her daddy, and I was saying how sort of proud she was, almost strutting, how graceful she was. She's very tiny. I think she doesn't look like she's 8 years old to me, but they are really beautiful, poised, well-behaved children that reflect enormously well on their parents. I mean, it's visible in them.
Okay, gentlemen, and Nora, we just got a statement from Senator Kennedy's office, obviously, about his health today. Senator Edward Kennedy experienced a seizure today while attending a luncheon for President Barack Obama in the U.S. Capitol. After testing, we believe the incident was brought on by simple fatigue. Senator Kennedy's awake, talking with family and friends, and feeling well. He will remain at the Washington Hospital Center overnight for observation and will be released in the morning. So that's great news. We worried about the word convulsions. That doesn't make you too happy about a guy's condition, but apparently it was short term. He's back on his feet, back fighting for health care. Evan Thomas, elections matter. The scene we're watching today would have been very different had McCain won, had Hillary Clinton won. Can you give me a sense of that importance?
Well, the country wouldn't have been paying such close attention. I mean, there was a different feel to this. I've just like you, I've been through a lot of these inaugural days. I've never seen one as freighted with emotion and feeling as this one, ever since I was a little kid watching JFK. That was a function of Barack Obama and his race to some extent, but the idea of hope that he brings. So it was more amped up than it would have been with the other two.
Did you guys get down on the mall and see the faces of people? Did you see them on TV, Pat and Evan? The gleaming radiance of people who were thrilled at this event?
And they were crying. They were crying. It was hard not to cry at moments. I thought the speech itself was not all that memorable. It didn't have really memorable turns of phrase. But I thought Aretha Franklin was pretty memorable, and the quartet was memorable, and the whole thing, the whole feel of it is, I think, something that people are going to remember forever.
Chris, I was down there with you, as you recall. There must have been yesterday and the day before 3,000 people outside the studio cheering and laughing, enjoying us, greeting all of us as we went from the trailer to the booth. And today, the camera work was excellent. They took photos of people breaking out in tears when Aretha Franklin spoke. You could hear the cheers in the background at various points in Barack Obama's speech. But there's no doubt he didn't reach for some famous phrase, but this was a commander-in-chief calling the nation to account and saying, shape up. You know, we got to put off childish things, all these quarrels and petty arguments and divisions and old dogmas. There is more realism and old right in this speech, Chris, than there is any conservative, you know, we're going to plant democracy all over the world and end tyranny in the world that we heard in the last inaugural.
Well, the allusion, of course, gentlemen and Nora, was to Corinthians 13. When I was a child, I used to talk as a child, think as a child, reason as a child. When I became a man, I put aside childish things. What did that mean to you, Nora? The putting aside of childish things is such almost a real put down of what came before. We were kids. We weren't grown-ups. We didn't accept responsibility for energy.
Grow up.
Yeah.
Trying to grow up and take responsibility and stop this nonsense. I mean, there was clearly, and I kept thinking, this uncomfortable moment with Bush just sitting right there and the vice president sitting right there, this delicate dance, if it was even delicate, of him putting forth change and saying why we've got to mark a clear delineation between the past and the future.
Chris?
You know, every president that gets elected is a solution to the mistakes of the guy he succeeds. And the sad thing is the guy who succeeds, whether it's Jimmy Carter or Herbert Hoover, has to sit there, or George W. Bush. Go ahead, Pat, and take it in the
Chris,
chin.
I think there clearly are lines there that are directed at Bush and a break with Bush. I thought this was directed at both parties, at the Congress, at the whole city. You people have been arguing over these silly things. You're at each other. Your old quarrels from the 50s or 60s. We're sick of that. We got to break with that and put off those childish things. We got serious business as a country. I mean, this was an admonition. It was really a call, I mean, a disciplining, if you will. Very authoritative.
Before we get too united in this, Pat, before you and Evan and me and we all agree with Nora, there's the use of the term special interests is a term that has totally different meaning depending what party you are. A lot of conservatives would say gay rights is a special interest. They would say labor causes like card check is a special interest. Can Barack Obama claim to carry the mantle of general interest in opposition to special interest if he pushes for those changes on his first watch?
Well, I think, Chris, look, one man's special interest is another man's ideal solution. So it's going to be it's going to be very difficult. And both parties, you're right, have things that they're deeply committed to, and the other party says that's their special interest. So I don't know if he can do that. But what got me was the petty grievances, the false promises, the recriminations, the worn-out dogmas, the stale political arguments. Put that behind us.
Chris, I think this is all about...
Evan Thomas, can you take the high ground on opposing special interests when you have clear constituencies that got you there?
Well, Congress is, the government is run by interest groups. That's how democracy works. But I think the whole game here is whether Obama can build up a political head of steam to get entitlement reform. He's going to be asking for sacrifice, I think, in a way that no president for a long time has asked for sacrifice. He's going to ask the American people to do with less on Social Security and possibly less on Medicare. That's going to take a kind of political courage that we just haven't seen for a long, long time. I think all of this talk about responsibility is politically a ramp up, a setup for that moment when Obama has to tell, look, folks, we're going to reform these entitlement programs, and you're going to have to do with less.
Yeah, I think
well,
Evan's
a spoonful
dead right.
of sugar helps the medicine go down, but we got some strong medicine coming if you listen to Obama in terms of Medicare reform, Social Security reform. That means benefit changes, benefit cuts, tax increases, all kinds of things that nobody likes. Nobody. Pat Buchanan and Evan Thomas are staying with us. Nora Donaldson, my partner here. You're watching Hardball's live coverage of the inauguration and the parade. There it is. And by the way, that really is the White House behind it. I thought that was a mat behind there, as they say in Hollywood. We'll be right back to salute again the 44th president of the United States. The elections are over. The parades are on. We have a new president.
On this day, we gather because we have chosen hope over fear, unity of purpose over conflict and discord. On this day, we come to proclaim an end to the petty grievances and false promises, the recriminations and worn-out dogmas that for far too long have strangled our politics.
Critics call New in Town the first genuinely funny movie of 2009.
No
way. Yes, way.
It's Legally Blonde meets Sweet Home Alabama.
You can't pee outside?
I'm stuck. You could have just cut the zipper.
New in town. Rated PG. In theaters January 30th.
Wachovia is now part of Wells Fargo. We're now one team that's nationwide and twice as strong. With even more capabilities, more resources, and more solutions planned for the future. So while it's business as usual today, you can look forward to even more great things ahead. Wachovia and Wells Fargo. Together, we'll go far.
Your mission statement is keep it weird. Is that really a business strategy?
Keep it weird is our wig for keep it human, keep it real, keep it different. Like we don't build rockets over here. We make soap, and it's pretty hard to make soap different than other soap that's out there. So typically, the more different an idea is, the more fragile an idea is, the more likely it gets beat down to death and never goes anywhere. And if we lose our confidence to be weird and to be different, we lose that ability. And then after a while, you start to look like everybody else.
So how do you make sure you've got everybody in the company working together to keep it different?
You have to have an environment that people are comfortable with sharing ideas and they're not working against them. And anything we're working on has to be out in the open. That way, anybody can see it and build upon it.
Right.
So we do everything to try to keep people as connected as possible and putting about as much work into the culture as you would into the products that you're creating.
If you think about it, this is what makes the ladders different from other job search sites. We only work with the big talent. Welcome to The Ladders, a premium job site for only 100K plus jobs and only 100K plus talent.
When you see what we've done with veggies, you'll think it's uncanny. V8 soups from Campbell's. A full serving of vegetables in a soup so velvety and delicious, you won't be able to contain yourself. Campbell's V8 soups.
Every president must face this test. Now it's time to make good on promises to the American people. President Barack Obama, the first 100 days on MSNBC. Understand the challenges we face and the politics of change. With Chris Matthews, Keith Olbermann, and Rachel Maddow, the first 100 days on MSNBC, the place for politics.
We're back watching the inaugural parade, and we've got there it is, the Allentown Drum and Bugle Corps, the cadets actually they're called, and there's Barack Obama, of course, reviewing them. Pennsylvania being a key state to his victory, an increasingly blue state, I guess it's fair to say. But look at that crack team there. A lot of brass. Anyway, this is a mixed bag tonight. We're covering the real event here, which is the parade. Of course, it is only a symbol of what's happened in America. We have a new president, of course, and he's reviewing as president and as chief of state of our country, the symbol of our country, as well as the head of the government, alongside his running mate and now vice president, Joe Biden, being very formal there in attention to this. This parade's way late in time. It's going to run well into the evening. It's going to obviously, Nora and I were talking, it may well put off their attendance at these big masked balls they go to tonight. Nora, what's the schedule?
In fact, they've got to visit 10 different inaugural balls tonight, starting at 8:30. They're expected at the neighborhood ball, so you got to wonder, with it 5:30, whether Michelle and Barack Obama are going to have time. They have to break away early to get ready for those balls tonight, at least have some dinner or something to eat, because they're going to be at these balls until 3 o'clock in the morning. The very last visit is to the Eastern Regional Ball from 2:35 to 2:55 a.m. is the current schedule. This is a long night of celebrating where the Obamas are expected to do a dance at each one of these balls so that the people that have come from all across this country to celebrate can catch a glimpse of them. And he's going to make remarks, too, at each of these balls. It's going to be a late night, certainly for his first day in office. He'll be up late and probably up early.
Well, having gone to a number of these things last night till about 1 in the morning, I'm not sure I want to do this again. I gave Val Kilmer a ride home last night. I met, let's go through the names of who I met. John Cusack, I always wanted to meet him. He said he always wanted to meet me. That's kind of cool. And Ed Harris. And Robert De Niro, I met him last night. And Norman, what's his name? Norman...
Mailer?
No, he's dead. No, the guy that made all those TV shows, I met him. All in the Family, whatever his name is. And Norman Lear, getting help in my hair. A lot of celebrities last night. It's amazing how they suck up this politics. I would think they would be bored to death with it, but these Hollywood people love to come to Washington and hang out with people like us. It's surprising to me. I thought it was all worship from our end.
I ran into a woman up on Capitol Hill who was exclaiming how excited she was that her seat was actually 2 rows in front of Oprah Winfrey.
Wow.
And that she had called her mother to sort of say, look, I'm in front of Oprah Winfrey down here. But there were a number of stars down watching the inauguration of Barack Obama in those special seats.
Well, we'll be right back to talk about Ted Kennedy and his condition. There's, of course, Michelle Obama and her husband, the new president. It's really something to think about. He is clearly our president, will be for 4 years. Bush is gone. We'll be right back with Pat Buchanan and Evan Thomas. Thank you for joining us. When we return, by the way, the book is called A Long Time Coming, a fabulous book on American politics. I love it. Every page is candy. I underline a lot of it. Fantastic writing as always. Well, especially this time, Evan Thomas. Great work. Anyway, we're going to come back and talk about the condition of Ted Kennedy. He had something of a bad medical experience today, convulsions and everything. Took him to the hospital. Apparently he's okay, but let's get the word when we get back. We're continuing our coverage. A mixed bag tonight, an amazing parade, major history being made today. The speech today was a statement we'll be thinking about for years to come and what it meant. We'll be right back with the inauguration parade of Barack Obama here on MSNBC.
The Ultra.
At a time when American businesses are hurting, why should we worry?
I'm fast. That's why I use the BlackBerry Bold with AT&T 3G speed. I can surf the internet fast, download attachments fast, and send them to my colleagues fast. Excuse me for a sec. It's good to be fast!
Only AT&T has the new BlackBerry Bold. The fastest BlackBerry ever. Only on the nation's fastest 3G network. AT&T.
True or false? Your pet is safe from fleas, ticks, and heartworms in winter. Sorry, it's false. And these guys can mean big trouble. Your pets need year-round protection, plus medications for cold weather joint pain. Fortunately, they cost a lot less at 1-800-PET-MEDS, and they're delivered free, right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. For fast service, free shipping, and big savings, call now or order online from 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy.
Thinking about mutual funds? Think about this. The best place to buy one may not be a mutual fund company at all. Instead of emphasizing their funds, TD Ameritrade has tools that can help you choose funds from the leading fund companies. There's even a recommended list by the independent experts at Morningstar Associates, so you can get a fund that matches your objectives instead of someone else's.
Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Contact TD Ameritrade for a prospectus containing this and other information. Read it carefully before investing.
Before Obama tackles his first 100 days, Rachel asks, what's in store for his first 100 hours? The Rachel Maddow Show tonight at 9 Eastern on MSNBC.
With hope and virtue, let us brave once more the icy currents and endure what storms may come. Let it be said by our children's children that when we were tested, we refused to let this journey end, that we did not turn back nor did we falter. And with eyes fixed on the horizon and God's grace upon us, we carried forth that great gift of freedom and delivered it safely to future generations.
What a bright, shining day it was today in America. Welcome back to Hardball's coverage of Barack Obama's inauguration. Let's get to the latest now On a bit of the sad news from the day, or at least concerned news, Senator Ted Kennedy, who was taken to a hospital after being stricken during the inaugural luncheon up at the Capitol. NBC's Tom Costello is with us from the Washington Hospital Center. Tom, what's the condition of Senator Kennedy right now?
As we understand it, we're hearing this not only from sources within the Kennedy offices, but also we're hearing it from most directly from Senator John Kerry, who came out and he said to us that Senator Kennedy is inside. He's in good spirits. He's joking. He's, quote, got his Irish dander up, and he's looking forward to getting out of the hospital and returning to work as soon as tomorrow. That may be optimistic, but that is what Senator Kerry says Senator Kennedy wants to do. He's been moved to a private room here at Washington Hospital Center. Senator Kerry describes what happened as a seizure. His words, he says, I'm not a doctor, but that's what it looked like there in the Capitol building. And he said, this is unfortunately something that happens when you're dealing with the issues that Senator Kennedy is dealing with. As we know, he's been fighting brain cancer since last May 20th. They've done one operation, and according to Senator Kerry, this has happened before, these types of seizures. But again, at the moment tonight at Washington Hospital Center, he is described as being in good spirits, as being in a jovial mood, joking, and anxious to get out of here and, quote, get back in the saddle. Chris, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Tom Costello. Let's go right now to Bob Shrum, who's a friend of the Kennedy family and, of course, a longtime aide to Senator Kennedy. And we've also got Howard Fineman joining us here with Nora O'Donnell. Let's get to Bob right now. Shrummy, what do you know? I mean, you've been with the Senator for so many years, going back, what, 30 at least years. You've been his ally and friend.
Yeah, I mean, he said to me at one point this summer when we were in Denver, he said, well, we got in the hang of this. We've been doing it together for 30 years. And he is a very close friend. Look, the seizures, he had two of them, I think, at the beginning, which is how they found the disease in the first place. The time I've spent with him last summer, a lot of time around Thanksgiving, he was full of life. He was at Thanksgiving getting ready for his Harvard honorary degree, where he had to give a speech. We were telling old stories. I mean, this is someone who has enormous significance in American history, who I think as a senator has achieved more than some presidents have, and who wants to come back to the Senate. And he's got his Irish up because after stimulus is done, he wants to pass national health reform.
Well, he didn't get that hat from Ireland, I'll tell you that. That is one hell of a hat he had on today. He reminds me of Don Corleone going around with the bug spray in the vines in that movie. He looks, I mean, I say that with the greatest adoration.
But all you had to do, Chris, all you had to do was look at him today on that inaugural platform, the joy he felt. I know from a week and a half ago when I talked to Vicki and him, I know how much he was looking forward to this day. And he did a lot to make this day happen.
Well, you know, Howard, there's so much Kennedy going on right now. We've got this story, which luckily has turned out to be just an incident, and of course part of a bigger story, of course, his health, which is a real problem for him. But we've got this Caroline story, which Andrea was pecking away today at David Patterson. I mean, pecking away at him, trying to worm something out of him, to mix my metaphors. And all she could get out of him was it looked like he was near a decision. He had basically made up his mind, and that he would probably, according to Andrea's report, get to a decision this Friday, by the end of this week, this work week.
Well, he's got to make a decision.
Picking a successor to Hillary Clinton.
But the point here is that the Kennedys loom large in American history and also in Democratic Party history. Don't forget, even though this is a day for the whole country, this is a Democratic president who was just sworn into office.
I forgot.
Somebody who...
You're right, I completely forgot.
Well, as well you should. As well you should, really.
Because?
Well, because it's a day for the whole country, for everybody to join together as 2 million did. But Kennedy and their Kennedy family means a tremendous amount to Barack Obama and vice versa. They're bound together. Don't forget, it was Teddy who was one of the first important people at a very critical time from the establishment of the party who endorsed Barack Obama, who really helped put Barack Obama over the hump. And Caroline was a big part of that, and Caroline was on the committee that chose Joe Biden
and wrote that big article in the New York Times that basically said the Kennedys are passing the torch to Barack Obama. And then there's the Ethel Kennedy story.
That's right, and there even though Kennedy's name was not mentioned here directly. The talk about challenges in the world, the talk about a new generation, the talk about a sense of renewal. All the notes that Barack Obama struck today as president were ones that the Kennedys have struck repeatedly, and his commitment to health care is one that Kennedy's been on for 25 or 30 years.
And having Ted Sorensen help write the speech.
Yeah, in all of that. So it was.
I love competing with you for information, but you're always a better reporter.
No, but it was sad. It's a sad grace note to the day to bring up Teddy's health, but it's part of the story of life and changing generations, and I think Teddy will be back, and I guarantee you if there's going to be a health care bill of any kind, he's going to be around to try to see it through.
Back to the news, Bob Shrum. Do you think Ted Kennedy really wants Caroline to be a senator from New York?
I'm sure he does. But look, Governor Patterson's going to make that decision. I think I've said to you before that she's a wonderful choice for the state at a time like this because she's going to have influence and New York needs it before she has seniority. Some of the arguments that have been made against her actually remind me of the arguments that were made against Ted Kennedy in 1962, except she's considerably older than he is and has written considerably more books.
From your chair at NYU, do you endorse Caroline Kennedy for senator?
Sure, absolutely. But look, it doesn't matter.
I just want to get it official,
anybody.
buddy.
Governor Patterson makes this decision, and everybody. And I think people are clear about that. And you know, it's not a conventional campaign.
You know, the definitional stuff is fine, but I want it the behavioral. You support her, right? And so does Ted Kennedy, right? Okay, well, that's news. And Andrew Mitchell said tonight that the decision is near, and I think it may well be near in her favor. That's my guess.
I have no idea.
That's
I
my
think
guess.
it's up to the governor. I really honestly don't, and I don't think anybody does. And I think he himself has kept his own counsel. He's done exactly what he said.
Every time you say it's up to the governor, it makes me think you know he made the appointment for her. That's the way you talk when you got it in the bag.
People close to the Kennedys aren't going to say anything of that kind, Chris.
I think it's the way you talk if you're prudent and you understand what the situation is.
Thank you, Bob. You're the best. You're the best speechwriter in the world. Thank you, Bob Shrum. Thank you, Howard Feynman. As always, my friend, best reporter around. He was in the pool today at the Capitol. Extra duty. The guy just keeps working. Of course, it's been an historic day in America. We're going to have more on that. Never forget, everything changes today. Everything. Who's running the country? Barack Obama. Who ain't running the country? George W. Bush. Something of a change in one day, wouldn't you say? The significance of the day in American politics, especially perhaps you might argue to African Americans, but hardly exclusively by any means. We're going to talk about that when we return. This is Hardball's coverage of the inauguration. What a day this is. Long day coming, as Newsweek put it. The inauguration of President Barack Obama.
Worst case scenario. Your in-person presentation to sell personalized postcards is imperiled by a pallet of pipes. Best case solution. Verizon Wireless Mobile Broadband on America's largest 3G network. Now, not even pipes.
They're precious. They're perfect.
Let's purchase. Can keep you from your peeps.
I'm pumped. Now get a free UM175 USB modem. Mobile broadband. One of the many tools in the Verizon Wireless Small Business Toolbox.
There were several people that had doubts of whether or not I should attempt to go to school.
Working full-time and being a single parent was difficult enough.
I'll be online at 12 midnight with my daughter in one arm and typing with one.
A lot of days I worked on 2-3 hours worth of sleep.
There were always distractions. Time was my greatest enemy. There was never enough of it.
I had to think in English when I could barely speak it.
I was out of school for 37 years.
I was still working 40, 50 hours. It was challenging.
When people tell me I can't do something,
I'm the type of guy that likes to prove people wrong. My name is Adam.
Wendy. Chef Natalia.
And I am a Phoenix.
Concern
turned out to be nothing, but it got us doing more to protect our health, like taking silver.
Age-adjusted Centrum Silver has key antioxidants and other nutrients that help protect the health of your heart, eyes, and bones. Age-adjusted Centrum Silver.
Attention, all Medicare beneficiaries who need assistance getting around their homes. There is a Medicare benefit that may qualify you for a new power chair or scooter at little to no cost to you. Imagine one scooter or power chair that could improve your mobility and your life. One Medicare benefit that, with private insurance, may entitle you to pay little to nothing to own it. One company that can make it all happen.
Your power chair will be paid in full.
The Scooter Store.
Hi, I'm Dan Weston. We're experts at getting you the scooter or power chair you need. In fact, if we pre-qualify you for Medicare reimbursement and Medicare denies your claim, we'll give you your new power chair or scooter free.
I didn't pay a penny out of pocket for my power chair. With help from the Scooter Store, Medicare and my insurance covered it all.
Call the Scooter Store for free information today.
Call 1-800-313-5135 for free information. That number again is 1-800-313-5135.
Tonight,
we are ready to lead once more.
Barack Obama becomes the 44th President of the United States. Brian Williams reports live from Washington, D.C. A special edition of NBC Nightly News with limited commercial interruption. Brought to you by Audi. Progress is beautiful.
What's really happening inside the Oval Office? One show knows all the House rules. 1600 with David Schuster. Next on MSNBC.
Welcome back to this special inaugural edition of Hardball. Turnout for today's inauguration was unprecedented in both size and makeup. We had 2 million people right outside this window here. 2 million people. And I've lived in Washington for quite a few years, and I have to tell you, I've never seen so many African Americans come downtown. This was, as somebody put it rather brilliantly, D.C. comes to Washington. The neighborhoods emptied out. They're this baby. Mayor, I know you're a Philadelphia guy, but I got to tell you, having lived down here for a while, this is so unusual to see this city so integrated.
Yeah.
And well, let's talk about it. We got our first.
Philadelphia's down here.
Well, we got our first president in history that ever took mass transit. I mean, this guy went up the L in Philly, on the Market Street. You got the L in Chicago.
Yeah.
He's a city guy.
Well,
how's it going to help cities like Philly?
Well, you know, the great thing about President Obama is during the campaign he talked about Wall Street, he talked about Main Street, but I also know that he knows about 52nd Street, and he knows about Frankfurt Avenue in Philadelphia because he spent some time with us. He's going to be great for cities. The recovery plan is already shaping up in such a way that he and his top team know that getting money to cities for projects that are ready to go is how he's going to accomplish 3 million jobs over the course of the next 2 years.
How does he put it together? How does he put together the excitement of this crowd, the ethnic acts, the racial thrill these people felt? I've never seen so many teeth in my life. Everybody was smiling, looking at me, gleaming, happy people. I mean, they were all around here. There they are. Hey! They're still here.
Happy to see you.
No, well, sometimes, but on a serious note, this is a change in American history.
It is. We saw a different kind of America today, and you asked what can he do, what will he do? One, he's going to just keep being himself. President Obama has a message for everyone. He is crystal clear about personal responsibility, the need for Americans to rally around each other, people taking responsibility not only for their own actions, but stepping up in this time of crisis, because that's what we do as Americans. The economic recovery plan will do a great deal, but the government cannot do everything. And it's much of the same message that I try to deliver back home. We have our own budget challenges. We have our own needs, and I think that the economic recovery program coming to cities and metro areas, helping with infrastructure, housing, mortgage foreclosure challenges. The unemployment rate is up in many cities across America and, of course, in the country. Getting African Americans and Latinos and women more opportunities, whether on the construction side and increasing diversity all across the board, are the kinds of things that President Obama is focused on. It's very important for America.
Michelle Bernard, you're watching right now from the studio. Tell me about this picture we're watching. There's our chief of state, our head of state, the very symbol of our country, as well as the head of our executive branch, Barack Obama, with his number 2 guy. The symbolism, the reality of this in American life, tell me what it means to you as an observer of this thing.
looks like it is the dawn of a new day here in Washington. We talk about how cold it is. It has been frigid all day, but I think there is not one person in the world today who does not feel that they are basking in sunlight. You know, to watch Barack Obama take the oath of office today and then to give the speech that he gave, I know some people felt that he needed to smile and that it was overly somber, but if you really listen to every word that he said today, the symbolism was absolutely amazing on so many different fronts. When he talked about people not being able to be broken, he talked about us as a nation, but as an African American, I can tell you that there were many African American souls today that felt that that was directed to them. When he talked about, remaking America and the symbolism of Hurricane Katrina and when the levees broke and all of, let's face it, quite frankly, all of those faces of African American people drowning and standing on the roofs of their homes waiting to be saved. And he drew on the picture of America, of remaking America, when he talked about firefighters stepping into buildings to save people's lives. It made me think again about 9/11 and the goodness that we saw in our people coming together and making this nation good and true and strong. Once again, you can't help but be taken by the fact that these words are being spoken by a black man, and in a nation that started in slavery, the most important man in the entire world is a black man. It's just unbelievable. I don't think there will ever be words to describe how proud I feel today.
Last word, Mr. Mayor. I mean, Michelle had a lot to say there, and I think you agree with a lot of it.
I did. It's a great moment in American history. People will be talking about this hundreds of years from now, just like we talk about 1776, Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. This is a singular moment in American history. We've come a long way. We have much more work to do. I'm looking forward to working with President Obama to turn this country around.
Mayor Michael Nutter of Philadelphia, thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Michelle. We're staying here for another 2 hours of live hardball coverage of the Obama inaugural parade, and that's what it is. A lot of black bands coming through. These guys are good. A lot of them coming here to see and, of course, to entertain and to represent in many ways the first African-American president. There they are. They're famous, a lot of these bands, like Florida A&M. The one here from Piney Bluff, Arkansas, is just passed in review. We'll see a lot more of the entertainment and a lot more discussion of the politics. Stay with us.
Critics call New in Town the first genuinely funny movie of 2009.
No way. Yes way.
Renee Zellweger, Harry Connick Jr. This is what romantic chemistry looks like.
Okay?
Yeah. New in Town. Rated PG. In theaters January 30th.
We worry about fixing healthcare? Because quality, affordable healthcare can save money and make businesses more competitive. So they can invest in innovation, hire back workers, create jobs, get the economy working again for everyone. Quality, affordable health care. It's not just something we should do for America's families. It's something we must do for America's economy.
Wait till you see how we've taken veggies and served them up in a great way. V8 soups from Campbell's. A full serving of vegetables in a soup so velvety and delicious.